Hey, welcome back to the Still in Love podcast. Thanks for tuning in to part 2.
Sometimes we have to say this in a fight. Tori told me this the other day. We had got into it. I mean, it was real quick. And I asked her something, and she popped off. I'm like, you pop? First lady, y'all first lady. And she didn't pop off. She popped off a little. She ain't pop. She was just.
My pop off is a little different.
Yeah, her pop off a little different. So she don't go, you know. But it still be a little. Hey, hold on. Wait a minute, man. Hold on. So I said sometimes I thought we was gonna do it this way. You should have gave me an opportunity. I'm like, oh, okay then. I'm like, so and you gonna say this? You gonna say this right here? And I'm like, hold on, we need to talk. So she walked off. I'm like, man, you gonna walk off? I'm like, no, we don't walk off. I'm like, hey, come here, Tori. No, come. So I'm like, Tori, come here. So she came over there, and I want to talk. Now, there was people around. They didn't know what was going on, but there was people around, and I wanted to talk right then. And she said something that was very important. She said, let's talk later. Because she saw that, because she I came to her on 3, and she popped on 9. Then I went on 9. I'm like, hold up. And so now I'm like, and we need to talk right now. And she calmed down like a half. Like, no, we're not talking right now. I said, no, we are talking right now. Y'all ain't gonna try. Y'all think we had it all together. We ain't got it all together. I said, Bree, no, listen, this the other week. No, I'm gonna be real. It ain't even the other week. This last Saturday at the parade. At the parade. Because I'm asking for something to be done this way. I ain't fit. And I felt like she did it another way. So I'm going to address, why did you do it another way? And I don't ask for much, but what I do ask for, I would like that to be done this way. And she was, but why you gonna come and say this? Wait to me. And then the people, I'm like, ain't nobody around. And so I'm like, so she walked out, Tori, come here. And she came over there. Tori, we need to talk now. No, we're not gonna talk. No, we're gonna talk right now. Then she calmed down a little bit. Let's talk later. And I'm like, okay. but the thing is, had we talked right then,
they would have had their cameras up because y'all pastor and first lady been out there arguing.
Had we talked right, we couldn't.
For real.
And no, we gonna deal with it now. But I'm like, we'll talk about it later. Guess what happened? Y'all, I'm gonna tell y'all because I like y'all, all right, and y'all cool. I'm gonna tell you what happened. So, what? Don't tell me what happened.
Oh no.
So we came home. I'm always ready to talk most of the time. Like, I won't talk. So we came home. She came home, and normally when that kind of thing happened, she come home. She a little quiet. She ain't saying nothing. I'm like, oh, so. Now she mad because whatever. So we have our little issue. But she ain't had no attitude when she came home. I'm like, okay. She just kind of, she talking a little bit. I'm like, oh, okay, she cool. Okay, that's all right. We all right. So I still didn't address it. I'm like, I'm not gonna address it right now. We still talk later. And she did what she don't do a lot. And she made the first move. And she said, oh yes. And I accept your apology from yesterday, too. But I get my baby. Because what she was really saying was this. Baby, I apologize for yesterday. I can't believe, And I said, baby, yes, I apologize.
That's I meant what I said.
Okay. Well, I apologize again, baby. And so and we talked a little bit after. She was like, oh, my goodness. She said some stuff that she just couldn't believe that she acted. And so it was that to where, but what she said at that moment, had we addressed it at that moment, it would continue to escalate. Yep. So sometimes we just say, hey, look, we're going to talk about it, just not right now. Mm-hmm. Because before when she used to say, let's not talk about it right now, it would mean we're not ever talking about it. So I want to address it now because I know if we don't talk about it now, you're gonna flight. And so even in that, her humor, oh yes, and I forgive you for yesterday too. Mm-hmm. What she was saying, baby, I was tripping yesterday. But even when she said that, I came back and said, oh baby, yeah, I apologize for yesterday. as well. Then we both apologize. And so fighting fair. Because some of us, we get upset and we don't fight fair. You cussing, you throwing stuff, you ain't talking for 3-4 days. You got mad at your spouse, and then you forget what y'all mad about. Because now y'all fighting about something about something else. Now the original fight started because of parade. Now we fighting because you didn't cook. Now you fighting because I ain't clean. Now you supposed to go and put gas in my car. So now it's all this that took place, and we forgot what we was originally fighting about. Yep. We let all this time go by. Yep. All these moments go by with no communication. Yep. Fight fair. Go ahead, baby.
That was good.
Don't talk about that parade and what you did.
And I really just, I don't know what, because sometimes we just have moments where I just spaz out a little bit. And he was like, so what was up? I said, I don't know. I just had a crazy moment, I think. And that's really all it was, because I was fine after the fact. I wasn't mad. It wasn't one of those, I was upset and I could pinpoint. It was just, I think I just had a moment, and I just had a moment. And it happens sometime, and, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Listen, when somebody buttons are pushed, he or she reacts. He reacts instead of responds. So it's important that we respond instead of react. Mm-hmm. All right? A reaction is a response that the speaker usually regrets the moment it leaves his or her lips. Mm-hmm. That's when I react. But communicate purposefully to build dialogue and not to debate. Pause and consider the best reply. Because listen, words can create peace or ignite power play. So I need to look at responding so I can think clearly about my response opposed to reacting. Because now I'm reacting to what you said. Mm-hmm. I said, why you do this? And she reacted. So now we just reacting off of what one another said. Yep. And so that's what happened in marriage. I'm reacting off of what you said. Mm-hmm. Opposed to I'm responding to what you said. Mm-hmm. Let me take a minute and think about what you said, and let me respond rather than react. Mm-hmm. So let us fight fair. Because some of y'all know each other, and y'all know how you fight. And you throw shoes at each other, and you don't talk for weeks, and you withhold goods from one another, and you sidetracked, and you're doing other things, and because you're fighting unfair. And so because I love you, I'm learning to fight fair. Because fights are inevitable. But what's important is how you fight when you do fight. Number 3, what's important is to understand the power of agreement. Now this one right here is, we got to go.
This is a deep one, Pastor.
Understanding the power of agreement. The Bible says that how can the two walk together, saints of God, except they agree? We walking together. I'm walking together with the Lord, but I'm not in agreement with the Lord. Well, we can't walk together. You say you're walking with Jesus. You're not walking with him unless you're in agreement with what his word says about your life and about your circumstances. Well, I'm just going to fornicate, but that's not in line with God. So you're not in agreement with the word of God. So you're not walking with the Lord. When you're not in agreement with what he said. I agree with what you say about me. Not only do I agree, but I am in agreement with what you said about me. Oftentimes, couples leave so much on the table because they're not in agreement with each other. It's so much power in agreement. In the Tower of Babel, when the whole world was trying to build a tower to heaven, and God said that we got to go down and we got to disrupt them. Because if they are on one accord, in other words, in agreement, there will be nothing for them to not be able to do. So he went down and he disrupted their language, and people started speaking different languages so that they wouldn't be in agreement with each other, because they was using the power of agreement for evil. What if we are in agreement in marriage? I'm in agreement with you. It's important to be in agreement in business, in agreement with team, in agreement at church, in agreement with God, in agreement in your marriage. It's important. Agreement. Matthew chapter 18, verse 19 and 20. Again, truly I tell you that if two of you on earth agree about anything, my God, y'all didn't hear that. If the two of you on earth agree about anything they ask for, it will be done for them by my Father in heaven. For where 2 or 3 gather in my name, there I am with them. If we agree about anything as of touching and agreement, in agreeing, he's there in the midst. How often do we pray together? Do we touch and agree together? Do we trust God about the same thing? I support you. You support me. We're in agreement about this. We're in agreement about the decision that we're making pertaining to our children. We're in agreement about the decision that we're making pertaining to our resources. We're in agreement. I'm going to share this. Listen, agreement is harmony of opinion, action, or character. Contend to do something that has been suggested by another person. The strongest teams in sports have chemistry in the locker room. They're a blend of experience, communication, and unity. And they learn to overcome adversity through agreement and disagreement. Those qualities lead to championships and celebrations. The same is true in a marriage. The power of agreement holds the potential for happiness, joy, and celebrations in your life. It has the potential to radically transform your marriage. Marriages can sour for one consistent reason: their selfishness. Husband and wife fail to act and think in unison. They miss the opportunity to utilize the power of agreement. You can say that you agree with somebody, but not be in agreement with that person. I'm shaking my head because I agree with you, or because I'm saying that I agree with you. But my actions show that I am not in agreement with you.
My Lord.
So I agreed in word, I agreed in my body language, but I disagreed in my actions. So you can say that I'm in agreement, I agree, but there's a difference between saying that you agree and being in agreement. I agree, I'm in agreement with you. I tell you this situation. We was coaching this year. We was undefeated. We were undefeated, and we were playing against another undefeated team. Our defensive coordinator, it was 6-6. The other team called a timeout, Melissa, with 2 seconds left on the clock. Coached my son flag football team. Defense coordinator, we on the field together. We was running a zone the entire game. I said, this last play, let's go man to man. Let this young man hold this young man wherever he go. All right, he agreed. I left off the field. The young man who was supposed to hold the other kid from the other team did not hold him. And the other kid got open and scored a touchdown with 2 seconds left on the clock to win the game. They were coming off of the field, and I asked the young man, I said, man, I thought I told you to get the man. We was in man-to-man. He said, no. He told me that we were still in zone, the defensive coordinator. The same thing, didn't address it. We prayed, and we was walking off the field. The defensive coordinator came to me, and he said, hey, man, I blew it. I blew it because I panicked, and I told him to run zone. That's his second year coaching. I've coached for several years. Second year coaches. He said, I panicked. I understood that. So I didn't address it at that moment because it's all good. We talked later, and we had a meeting as coaches later. And I understood his decision. I understand, man, listen, sometimes it happens. I said, listen, but this is what's important. Sometimes we make the wrong decision. I said, but this is the bottom line. If we make the wrong decision, let's make the wrong decision together. I said, listen, sometimes we're going to make the right decision together, and we may make the wrong decision together, but whatever we do, let's do it together. Because you may say zone, I may say man, but we got to say, okay, I'll defer to you because you're the defensive coordinator. But we can't leave the field and we agree on saying that we're going to run one thing, then you tell the kids something totally different because this is what the end result end up being. So you agreed in nodding, but you were not in agreement in your decision, and we lost the game. And that's what happens in marriage, to where we agree in conversation, but we're not in agreement. Now, the next game, a couple of games later, we had the same situation. I said, we putting this kid in. He said, no, we're not putting this kid in. So I'm like, okay, we're not putting the kid in because I don't care. Long as we agree, even if we're wrong together. Then he paused and he matured over a couple of weeks and said, hold on. Do you feel like this kid is the best person for this job? I said, yes, I feel like he's the best. He said, well, let's roll with him. And I commended him so much after the game for that growth because he made sure that whatever we do, we're in agreement together. I said, man, listen, just because I've been coaching this long, don't make me an expert. And I'm wrong sometimes. My point is, we don't have to listen to everything that I say. And what I say take precedent over everything else. What I'm saying is that whatever we say together, that's what we do. And we ended up beating the same team that beat us, and we won the championship because we were in agreement. It's power in agreement. Some of us are married, and we're not in agreement with each other. In other words, it's if tourists say Madison can date, and I say Madison can't date.
Which we haven't, by the way.
Yes, and hey, look, all these little boys, these teenagers that's watching, play with me if you want to.
Because we are in agreement.
We're in agreement that we'll go back to jail, partner. Real talk on everything. I'm just for real now. No, I get serious about my daughter. But here we go. Let me focus. So she can't have something in her mind and feel like, okay, he is never going to let her date. So I'm just going to let her do her thing and let her date. You know, it's innocent. She's responsible. And we're just not going to share with him. Because she agreed at the meeting table that we're not going to let her date. But when she got with Madison, she allowed her to date. So we're not in agreement with each other. We agreed that this is the amount of money we're going to spend. But when you went to the store, this is the amount of money that you spent. Y'all ain't going to church with me, ladies. So you shook your head about this, but you are not in agreement with me in your decision making. Y'all ain't going to church. I can talk about y'all. So this is bigger than marriage.
Absolutely.
It's about business. It's about relationship. It's about leadership. It's don't just say you agree without being in agreement. I am in, and it shows when you are in agreement with your spouse. I'm in agreement with you. Come on, baby.
I was just thinking about we get married and we agree. I agree to take on your last name. I agree.
Come on.
Initially, so we are in. I just agree with you. But I'm not necessarily in agreement about how we're going to handle some things. And a lot of that is you just have to take it. I'm not even going to say case by case. You have to decide, or you have to make decisions and have those moments of reminders, or have those reminders along the way, because there are going to be different times when your agreement may look a little different. When we're talking about our children, because sometimes we differ on things like, well, right. I may say, I may say, no, I don't feel like she needs to be driving by herself right now. He may say, well, no, I feel like it's fine. She's good. She's cool. She can drive. That's not necessarily a win-win or a win-lose. It's just, okay, I'll roll with what you say. But I let my opinion be made known, but I'm verbally saying, hey, I'll roll with you. But sometimes we don't say anything to our spouse, and we just kind of either to avoid conflict, or we know our spouse, or we don't really feel like dealing with, I don't want to hear all this, so I'm just going to agree. But sometimes you've agreed to things that you really didn't want to do in the first place, which sets up now we've opened the door for some other things. And resentment is one of them. Resentment is such a sneaky tactic that the enemy uses, because it often we often resent a person or a decision that we've made, because we've made it from a place of something that I agree to do, but I don't necessarily want to do. And then we come back and we resent the fact that we said yes to something, and Now I've opened up the door, and this seed of resentment has come in, and now I'm feeling some kind of way. And then we go into this passive aggressive behavior. Now it's, I'm not going to let you trick me or do anything else because I don't want to go back to this feeling, when all we had to do in the first place was just communicate. I know I said yes, and I have to learn that. I have to learn that. Just even in relationships, but I know I said yes to XYZ, but it's probably not going to be the best thing for us to do right now. Or it's probably not going to be the best thing for me to do right now. Because I'm thinking about in the future. And anything you do with resistance oftentimes ends up in resentment.
Come on, sister.
Often ends up in resentment because I didn't really want to do it. I'm not in true agreement. I'm really not in agreement. I said yes, but I'm really not in agreement.
So now this week, because we got some more, but we're gonna leave it there. I do want us to address a couple of questions because we said that we're gonna answer some questions. Okay. So we want to address a couple of questions, and we'll come back next week. Lord say the same. So come on, give a couple of questions. And we're gonna.
What advice could you give a newly married couple to ensure a long-lasting marriage?
Yeah. Oh, it's a lot. It's a lot. I mean, I think that's
give the best.
Yes. Keep God first.
What does that look like? What does that look like?
That look like having your personal relationship with God, having some type of devotion, some type of prayer, in your household, but making God the center of your household. Mm-hmm. In this house, we're going to serve the Lord. Mm-hmm. He is the center, not getting out of church, not getting out of fellowship, allowing him to lead you. He is the priest of your home, keeping that as the focal point, man of God. You understand that, leading it, keeping God first. We're not letting any outside influences into our home. Okay. So keeping God first, making a lot of love, spending a lot of time together, doing a lot of things together, communicating, investing in your marriage a lot, investing in your marriage. Mm-hmm. Having date night, having family night if you got kids, but being intentional about that, not allowing anything to take the place of that. Mm-hmm. I don't have enough time in the day. You do. My wife used to not work out, father, just because she didn't want to, or she made out felt that she didn't have enough time in the day. Now that's a priority to her, and I ain't gonna even tell the folks how many days in a row that she's been working out. But it's over 30 days in a row that she's been working out every day. I ain't gonna tell them that. I ain't gonna tell them how many days. Please don't. But the thing is that that's a priority for her. Mm-hmm. So I ask her at night sometimes, because it's 10:30 at night. Are you working out tonight? Yeah. She sleep, but she's like, yeah, I'm gonna work out before 12. So the question now is not if you're gonna work out. The question now is what time are you working out? Yep. Y'all ain't churching though, because it was a paradigm shift with her. Yep. And so I think those things in marriage, keeping the main thing, mm-hmm. keeping God first, your spouse next, their priority. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's a list. Continue to invest in those marriages. Keep the fire burning. Stay in love. Mm-hmm. Fall in love. Whisper sweet nothings to each other, but keep the main thing the main thing.
Amen. There was a question. I was trying to go back to it, but it asked whether or not counseling was necessary if you are not married. Is premarital counseling necessary, and before you get married? And I would just say, personally, I believe it is, because it gives you some insight into what you are preparing for. Some things I wouldn't go into without getting some commitment. Wisdom. Absolutely. Some wisdom, some guidance, some understanding, and some clarity on some things. I think premarital counseling brings out some things that you may not be aware of. So. And the Creflo Dollar said he just went on and on and on, but just you had to ask so many questions, and even in counseling, how he went down the list. How when you get mad, mm-hmm. How much money you got? Come on. How much money you got in your account? Come on. Do you bathe at night or in the morning time? My Lord. Do you bathe? My Lord. He just went down the list, but just asking a series of questions. What about your mama? Let's talk about your grandmama. Did your daddy drop you when you was young? Did your mama leave you? It's so in other words, it's vital to ask these type of questions. I wanted to know about
Tori's mama, about her grandmama, because Tori gonna get older one day. I
Amen.
needed to know. I wanted to know about her dad. I wanted to know to where there were certain things that I may like or may not like about this, and so how we gonna handle this? Certain things about my past that what I brought to the relationship, what was handed down to me, to where she, okay, look, you know, you still operate like this. Because of my environment that I came up in. So counseling I feel like is essential. And to deal with the deep things, to talk about these deep things so we can understand the insecurities and understand what you're getting yourself into. Because sometimes you get yourself into something and you feel like, my God, I did not know that I was marrying this person. I did not know that I was marrying Chester, the child molester. I did not know because I didn't dig. You dig about everything else. You dug before you got this house. You dug before you got a car. You found out about the new iPhone, but you didn't find out about your potential spouse, the one you spend the rest of your life with. Yes, ask the questions or get you a counselor that's going to ask some deep questions that's going to make you all feel uncomfortable because I need to know about him.
Yes, because it's oftentimes pleasure over purpose.
Come on,
it's
sister.
Pleasure over truth. I would much rather feel good than to know the truth.
Yes.
I would much rather feel good.
Yes.
And I feel good when I don't ask questions. Because when I start asking questions, I have to be responsible for the answer that I get. And I don't want to be responsible for information. That's why a lot of us don't ask questions about anything. People bring you information and you don't even ask questions. Well, how did we even get to this point? Or how? Because I don't want to be responsible for what I know. I don't want to be responsible for what I know. And it's very dangerous. It's very dangerous.
And some people have their mind completely made up before when they come to counseling. And I think we need to talk about that to where, yes, I feel like this is the person I want to spend the rest of my life with. But there need to be some deal breakers. There need to be some things that you know that if we leave counseling and this is not fixed, if this is not correct, if this is not dealt with, then I can't marry this person. Some people come with their mind made up, and this is just protocol. This is we just going through the motion. And I think that's so, you know, honestly, until June 28, 2003.
Absolutely.
I would have walked. Y'all ain't churching though, and I'm serious.
Absolutely.
I would have if things got, and some of us just like, nope. Because we done paid this money. I don't care what we paid. Because we got this dress. I don't care what we got. We done sent all these invites out. I'm not committing to spending the rest of our lives together. And this is what I see. And we marry people and we see all of these character flaws. That's a whole nother. And you know who he is. And you know what you found. And you know what you saw. But you still say, I do. When everything points to you to I don't and you shouldn't. I done been in counseling sessions and folks. And I'm saying they making it work. I'm pretty much spelling it out. This, I wouldn't do it. And they making it work. We gon' well. Oh, okay. You told me all of these issues, and based on the information that you just gave me, I'm telling you that my opinion is to not do it. And you still, this the king you want? Have him.
Yep.
Go ahead. We got one more.
I mean, this is the last one. There is a lack of trust, broken promises. It didn't say he, so forgive me for that. It just says unreliable and lack of communication. Should I communicate that I've lost trust?
I want you to speak to that one.
Trust is one of those things that it is so hard to build, and it is so easy to lose. And there's so many things that chip away at our trust. And I like to think that everybody starts out at 100. You know, you meet somebody, they start off with an A. You know, it's the teacher that says, hey, everybody in my class start out with an A. Now, whether you keep that A is up to you. And you do certain things. You fail this quiz, or you get a C here, or you get an F here, and it pulls from your A average. And it's the same with trust. Most of us come into a relationship and you got that 100, and little things happen along the way. I can't rely on you. They made mention of the person broken promises. That's one of the quickest ways to snatch away or to chip away at trust. If you said that you're going to do something, then do that. Do everything in your power to do that, to honor that. Being unreliable, which in essence, I can't depend on you. That's heartbreaking to be in a relationship and I can't depend on you. I need to be able to depend on you. I need to be able to know that if something happens, that I can lean on you, that you're there, that you're unmovable, that you're not going anywhere. And they also mention lack of communication, which is just the result of us possibly not having trust, or that was probably brought into the relationship. But the question was, should I communicate that I've lost trust? I think just like you did it. I think oftentimes this is the part that we don't do. I am amazed sometimes at marriages that don't have really hard, tough conversations. It amazes me sometimes. Like, you don't say that to your spouse, or you can't say that. Like, and I get it, but we're friends, right? We can say that. And I know sometimes if you have maybe an overly sensitive, or if your spouse may be, some things you can't say or some things you can't get away with saying. But I think in this instance, a conversation definitely needs to be had. And considering the timing, let's make sure the timing is right when we have the conversation. Make sure that it's not when we beefing. Maybe there's just a time when we chilling with each other. But it's can I talk to you? Or if you have one of those relationships where you need to schedule a time to talk. But the other person, and it's kind of hard when you don't know if this is male or female. But we talk, and we get it out, and we share, and we go back to making sure we stay away from you yes, statements. Yes. But we just talk about, I feel like this when you did this. And sometimes we just have to get it out and put the ball in the other person's court. But to sit up and to feel all of this, because this feels like, and this sounds to me like, when I hear broken promises, I hear brokenhearted. When I hear unreliable, I hear brokenhearted. When I hear lack of communication, meaning we can't talk to each other, I hear I'm brokenhearted. And whatever caused the relationship to get to this point, the reason you have to talk about it is so that we can be aware of what's going on, and then we can stop from that moment and we can get in agreement. Because I do feel like just because the relationship has endured some tough moments, it happens. Now what are we going to do? What are we going to do now? Because this is done and this is over with. Are we going to continue? And if we're going to continue, then we're going to have to address each one of these. If I think that you don't keep your promises, I need you to be a promise keeper. And you have to begin to work at keeping your promises. If you have not been reliable, I need you to be reliable. And you have to do the opposite. Do the opposite of what it is that you've been doing. But I think it really does take, again, that word, intentionality. But I think it also is going to take doing the opposite. And you have to communicate. When trust is broken, you have to communicate so much.
Over-communicate.
You do. You have to over-communicate because our trust is broken. And I liken it to this. When you go, if you get in an accident or you're sick and you go to ICU, there is different treatment. You're treated different in ICU than you are in just a regular room. Because our relationship at this point needs some intensive care.
Come on.
And in ICU, everybody can't come in and out of your room like you can if you're down in step down, or you're down in a regular room. You can only have 2 guests when you're in ICU. Why? Because we have to make sure that we're protecting our environment. And when you're in a place like this, when your relationship is broken,
come on, sister,
when it needs to be healed and it needs some serious healing, you got to take a moment and you got to call a timeout. And you have to say everything else, nothing else matters. And we're calling a timeout because right now this particular area in my life needs some serious care. And that's kind of what I liken a broken relationship to. Broken bones, broken anything. Anything broken requires some additional care. And once the healing begins, now we can function. Now we can possibly bring other people back. Let me clarify when I say bring other people back in. Because sometimes, when we get to the ICU moments in our relationship, when I mean we have to shut it all down, it means it might be a season where we're not doing a lot of fellowshipping with other people. Because we're building us back up. We're reminding ourselves Dang, I do still love you. This is why I fell in love with you. And we're walking through and talking through some hard things. I think it proves more and more how much we need Jesus. Because his strength really is made perfect. It really is made perfect in our weaknesses, in our relationships. We really do get to see him be glorified in our relationships when we lean into him when we need him the most. So that's all I'm going to say. Anything you got to say about that, Pastor?
Girl, you said that. We'll close with this. Sometimes we're still in love. We don't really know it. You know, we love each other, but we don't know it. We've allowed so much baggage, so many fights, so many arguments and issues to overtake us, and we really stop seeing the good in each other. And you begin to feel like, you know, it's more bad than it is good. And what's important for you to do is to really look at your spouse and say, man, there's some good in you. There's some awesomeness in you. You got to remember, why did I fall in love with you in the first place? Yeah, you may have done some things to tarnish that, but I still love you. This is my challenge to you. Every day this week, send a note to your spouse, or a text to your spouse, or email to your spouse of what you're thankful for about them. Every day, get up in the morning. At some point during the 24 hours, send a text, send a note. Don't miss. Every day, what you're thankful for. And don't let it be shallow. I'm thankful because you cooked me food. I mean, now think through it. This is what I'm grateful for. This is what I thank God for you. And men, go and look. Let them know that you put some thought into it. This is what I'm thankful about pertaining you. That's the challenge. Send it to each other, regardless of how you feel. Hey, I'm mad today. No, send it anyway. It's not about you. It's not about you. We will have kingdom marriages. We will have kingdom marriages, period. If you're single, don't worry about a kingdom marriage. Just become a kingdom person. That's your job. Becoming a kingdom woman, becoming a kingdom man right here, right now.
Don't just start in love,
but stay in love.
Thanks for tuning in to Still in Love podcast. God bless.